I just absolutely love my character. Someone asked me today, what character would I be if I could have my choice? And my choice would be to be Dargo.
I am Dargo. You are a real pain in the ema.
As a race, Luxons can be inartful at love, inadequate at war, and intrinsically inept. But this one is intelligent.
I wanted to be a lawyer at one stage, and then I wanted to be a computer scientist, and all these sort of much more academic pursuits, and then I just became so enthralled with storytelling and storytellers, and the gypsy nature of being an actor, moving from job to job, moving from groups of people to groups of people. It just absolutely fascinated me, and the just sense of self-empowerment that you feel from telling a story either in front of an audience or to a camera is such an amazingly powerful feeling that I guess as a teenager I just became captivated by it.
It's a curse, John. A warrior heritage. My instincts.
You just gotta know when to control them, bro.
Well, I went to school in Queensland in Australia, and the high school that I went to at that time had the largest number of drama students doing drama subjects in all of Queensland. So my high school years were full of so much drama and theatre and things like that. So I auditioned for acting school and went to that, and then I ran a TRE company, which means a theatre and education company, which is a company that goes and does performances for schools. And then I auditioned for the sort of premier school in Australia, which is called NIDA, which is the National Institute of Dramatic Art. It's like, yeah, Mel Gibson went there and whoever, blah, 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 blah. And then went from that out into the industry. So I've been doing it I've been out of that school for 10 years. And apart from a master's degree that I did somewhere along the line in between all that, that's how I got into it. So I've really been doing it all my adult life, so it's been an interesting journey, and then to wind up on a show like Farscape this far down the track has been really interesting and cool.
I love hanging with you, man. My dad's good luck charm.
Does it work?
I'm alive.
My parents made me promise when I went to university that I would do a teaching degree after my acting degree. I'd already gotten work before I graduated, so I think they were happy to let me go.
I did it.
When I was younger, I suffered a bit of the cultural cringe because Australians used to always think that people from other countries are better. So I went through that whole sort of Olivier, Gielgud, Richardson, loved them when I was a kid. But then when I became a little bit older, became a bit more aware of our own Australian cultural identity, I start to key into wonderful film directors like Peter Weir, who directed he's done lots of American films, but that one particular Australian film that he did that just changed my life that I love is called Picnic at Hanging Rock, which is just such a beautifully well constructed, delicate film that just gave me a whole new vision of Australians and Australian storytelling and things like that.
Delivery's round the back.
Oh, run the back.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Farscape is absolutely an Australian show. Absolutely, undoubtedly an Australian show. And if you had made it in any other country, it would have been a completely different show. Because on the ground, you've got 2 American writers and 1 American actor, and then every single other person there is Australian. All the rest of the regular cast, all the rest of the guest cast, all the extras, all the DOPs, all the crew, the other writers, other producers, everything there is Australian. And it's something that the Australian film and television industry can be quite proud of, that they mounted such a large show for 4.5 years. And the main thing that comes out of it for me is just the sensibility. Australians are very irreverent. It's something that Australians, it's just absolutely built into their culture. And if you travel to Australia and travel around the world, it's a very, very distinctive thing about Australians and Australian culture. And that irreverence to holy cows, if you like, is what drives Farscape. I think it's the main driving theme, spine, whatever you want to call it, that really differentiates us from other shows. It's constantly self-effacing, mocking itself, mocking other people, and that just seems to me to be an incredibly Australian attribute. And to be that consistent, I think, I mean, Americans, all other cultures do that, but to be consistently in that mode, I think it's just Aussie.
Dargo, we're in a window. There are people watching.
I think they've been there for about 7 hours, so why don't you just get dressed and give them a good show, sweetheart?
I am dressed.
I look at Farscape and I see an Australian show, absolutely. When you audition, you get a little paragraph description of the character. And really the only detail that I can remember about it at this stage is that he had a very sort of RP English accent. Shakespearean English accent, I think, was the term that they used. And he had an audition scene with Zan, 2 audition scenes with Zan. And they were the ones we did over and over again over a period, I think, of like 6 or 7 months, because the audition period was such a long time. And it was really actually quite scant on detail, apart from the fact that he was the warrior and the tough guy and on this ship. And it was 8 sentences. So there really wasn't much to hold on to. So you go and you dip your oar in the water and you think, well, I just hope that this is something appropriating what they might want for it. And I give great credit to the producers, to Brian and Rockney and David Kemper and at that stage Matt Carroll, for having the vision to realise that in this type of genre television, and when you're doing wearing these really heavy makeups, you're really not looking for the character to walk through the door, which I think is fantastic. I can't stand it when you go to a casting and before you're even told to go, they've made their decision. It sort of really devalues the acting process and really devalues what a performer can bring to a character if they think it's just going to walk through the door. It's not going to, with me and with most actors, it's not going to be there until you say action, and then it's going to emerge. And they had obviously the experience and the foresight to realise that Dargo wasn't going to walk through the door. They were going to wait and see whether he arrived in the lens, which is much more important. It went over such a long period of time. It was a bit infuriating because you're in Australia, you're at the end of the earth, which I love, and so you never expect to land these jobs that are based in other countries. Even though we were shooting it in Australia at that stage, all the decisions were being made in London and in LA. So you'd do an audition and it would go on a loop. The tapes would be sent to London, and then you'd jump through the hoops there with the people, and they'd tick and cross, and then that tape would go to LA, and they'd tick and cross, and then you'd find out that you've jumped through those hoops and you've made it to the next stage. But these auditions were a long time apart, weeks, months sometimes. So it was really one of those auditions where you just forgot it the minute you did it, which I think you have to do for any audition anyway, because you're going to so many. But I'd do them, and then I'd forget all about it. And at that stage it was called Space Chase, and I'd be amazed to hear from my agent every month or so, oh, you've got to rock up again for Space Chase. And because the decisions were being made elsewhere, we were also just doing it to a camera in a room. So you couldn't bounce ideas back, you couldn't say, look, this is the right direction or not, or because no one in the room knew what was going on. You'd just hope that was the right direction. And then finally, at the very last stage, Rockney, who created the show, came down to Australia and was at the audition that we went to, and this was in a different venue from the casting agents. And by that stage, you knew you'd gotten through so many months and so many auditions that you were close. So then it starts to get nerve-wracking, because beforehand you're like, oh, I won't get this. So you just rock up and do it and leave it and go home. But at this stage, it's like, oh wow, I've actually got a chance that I might be doing a science fiction show with the Henson Company. How brilliant. And I'll never forget when Rockney turned up, because Rockney turned up with the character design drawings that Kevin Hunter had done. Brilliant artist, wonderful designs. But up until that stage, hadn't been told at all it was going to be in prosthetics whatsoever. So it's right down to the wire. And then I'm like, okay, I'm going to look like that. I'm not sure how I actually feel about that. But I was excited because I thought it was such a cool design. And then went in and did the audition, and the strangest part of that audition is that they made you strip down. So yeah, did the audition, talk about the degrading process of being an actor. Do the auditions and the scenes, and then you had to strip off to boxes, face the camera, side, back, arms at 180 side. It's like completely just checking it out. And that was, I'd never had to do anything like that before in my life, and that was quite intimidating and strange. And then I was directing a play at the time. When that happened, they said, okay, that's the last audition, the one with Rockney, that's it. And the tapes went off with no sound on them. There'd been some sound stuff up. So we were called in again a week later. So we had to go through the whole process once more. And by that time, tearing my hair out. Because I also knew that they were up against the wire with casting Dargo, because they had to get whoever played it to London ASAP to get the live cast done so they could design the makeup specifically to the actor's face. And I was directing this play, and then I got the call that I was in, and I had to be in London, I think, the next week. So I had to quickly find another director to come and help tidy up a 2 weeks rehearsal for this play, and bang, off I went to London, did my live cast, back on a plane, back home.
I have spent 8 degrading cycles aboard this ship, and now I'm finally liberated.
Congratulations.
I don't know who you are, where you're from, or what you want. But if you threaten my freedom, I'll kill you.
It's so difficult to find those character voices. You have to, especially when you're wearing makeups. The size and the energy of the voice really has to match the makeup, and it sounds like a really sort of simple thing to do, but it can be quite difficult to find those voices. And when we were rehearsing, of course, we were rehearsing as ourselves, just out of makeup in the room. And we were struggling to find the voice, because at one stage they wanted Dargo to be a Scottish pirate, so they wanted a Scottish accent, and that really didn't work. And we were tossing around with different things. And then when I had my very first makeup test, they did a great thing. They put me in a room with a video camera and a monitor by myself. So I could just feel confident that no one was watching me, no one was judging me, and I finally got the chance to really work with the makeup specifically for the first time, and then watch myself back on tape and see what worked and what didn't work. And as I was doing that, I was trying out so many different variations of voices that would try and match this makeup, because if I spoke as myself, even in another dialect or accent, it still wouldn't have worked.
And then I came up with, speaking with him like this. Because the main obstacle that we had was Worf of Star Trek.
And Worf was very clean, sort of, very clean, very deep sort of voice, and I didn't want to do that. So I decided that I wanted to just sort of roughen him up and make it as rough a voice as I possibly could without killing my throat, but I did kill my throat in the end anyway. But so then I went to rehearsals and took it to the director, Andrew Prowse, who's a fabulous, wonderful director. And I said, Andrew, I've found the voice. Dargo should sound like this. It works with the makeup beautifully. And he just looked at me and, no way, because he was seeing me. And so we struggled with the voice, and then we arrive on set for the first day, at least my first day on the set. I think it was the second day of the shoot. It was a Monday. I think we started shooting on a Friday. They'd done some peacekeeper scenes with Lani, and then this Monday was the first main cast shoot on the command of Moya. And I was getting desperate. I mean, everyone else was worrying about 100 other things, so no one was really worried about what I was worried about. But I was getting desperate about how this character was going to sound. And Andrew had to deal with so many different special effects and things and characters, and things were going mad all over the place, so he was a bit distracted. So I got him at a weak moment, which was absolutely fantastic. Just before we're about to roll up, literally just before we're about to roll up on my first take. But now I'm in the makeup. I went up to Andrew and said, "Andrew, please, you really should sound like this." And Andrew went, "Yep, fine, good, action." And we went in, and there was the voice. And no exaggeration, that when the decision was made, seconds before the first take.
Your ship, what kind is it?
And I'm happy with it. It was such a fun voice to put on, such a transformation, and to try and find light and shade and colour through that sort of genre-type voice was a really interesting challenge. When it's this type of character and this type of genre show, and you're dealing with such solid archetypes right from the outset, for me, it's really just about the physicality, making sure you're just making all the right physical choices. And that was an added obstacle, because the makeup design process had been so rushed with me. The design wasn't as good as it could have been straight off the bat. So initially I could hardly move, I couldn't turn, I was really actually quite physically constrained in the things I could do, which was why he was so much more solid and straight up and down. It wasn't until we had a chance after a few weeks to redesign the actual construction of the makeup that I could start to feel comfortable in my own skin as the character, to start to make some of the physical choices that I wanted to do to soften him up. I knew that for the first couple of episodes, you just go with the archetype. You go with, okay, this has got to be strong, tough warrior, and that's the only signals and choices that you're putting out during the storytelling. But I also knew that as soon as we established that as fast as we could, we had to turn it on its head. So that's when we started to try and make Dargo sillier and lighter and give him just some more colours and shades.
I never thought I was going to get married again, but then... What?
What?
Have you been talking to Gianna?
Nope, no.
No, she's angry with me, but once she gets these...
Yeah, Dargo, look, I could be wrong, right? Probably am. She probably wouldn't, but Gianna could say no.
How could she say no?
Every single time the makeup got redesigned was just like opening a large door, and it got redesigned brilliantly by Dave Elsey and everyone else, and Damien Martin and my fantastic makeup artist who worked with me most of the whole show. Every time they came up with ideas to improve the makeup, it just improved the character because it just made me more comfortable. And I could just physically and vocally do so many more interesting things. And they were really the things that come to my mind more than storytelling things. Every time I threw on a new rig, we called it, we got a new rig for Dargo, which meant it attached in a different way and gave me more flexibility to move, was just an absolute milestone. I couldn't believe what it felt like to walk on set, to move from day one of season one, where I couldn't move and actually had to physically be moved to chairs by people after a take and sat down and then picked up again and moved back into the shot, to the end of season 4. I'm running around like a madman just as myself. Was such an incredible journey. And those changes usually came about at the start of each season, although we had a couple of really good changes mid-season 1 and mid-season 2. And they were fantastic. And we really redesigned the makeup heavily for season 2, made it a little bit lighter. The rig was really different, and also the look, it really changed from season 1 to season 2, which made everyone happy.
I'll be all right. Didn't think I could be that clumsy, did you?
Genre shows have the stakes are so high. I mean, when you just come off a normal drama, whether you're doing a cop show or whatever, you hit these genre shows and every scene is someone's dying, the stakes are so incredibly high. So to maintain those stakes just as a storyteller within the cast and then as your own character, that's actually the real challenge, to work in these type of stories. And so the milestones story-wise are all the big moments, you know, the big high-stake moments of losing his wife, finding his son, having his girlfriend screw his son. All those classic big life and death moments when all the other characters are going to die, and they were interesting they were really interesting. For me, it was always just about trying to find ways to keep his integrity as a warrior, as that archetype, and I was always most pleased when I could somehow wring a gag out of him somewhere. If I could somehow make him funny along the way, then I would tick a box. I would say, oh, that's cool. No one would have seen this character in that light, day one, season one, going in that direction. So that was my contribution.
How you doing?
I have to pee.
The relationships between the characters arc in such incredibly dramatic ways. You're together with someone, and it's like all drama. The stakes are so incredibly high. So for me, my character, I went through many episodes, through all the seasons where Dargo was a bit of a slut, which I loved, which was fantastic. But then also this wonderful thread with Chiana through the 4 seasons. And G, just such a wonderfully talented actress, that it was great for us to ground those characters in a romantic sense and see the troubles that came about from those archetypes getting together.
I think he knows.
How could he know?
He looked at me like he knew. What are you gonna tell him?
I'm not gonna tell him anything.
Tell who?
Crichton, we don't know what to tell him about the guy cacking.
I'm sure he'll understand it wasn't your fault. I thought Pilot wanted you to reseal the hatch. I was on my way down to help you.
Oh, he did. He does. We're going now.
What's that smell?
I told you, it's just the scented
You know,
wash.
the perfume wash.
No. There's something else.
No, I don't smell anything.
Why are you both in here?
I told you, we were just checking on the dead guy.
I don't believe you.
Did you talk to Rigel?
About what?
4.5 years, 88 episodes. You're just really searching to stay consistent with the character, but also you're trying to make it interesting for yourself and trying to explore new territories, as everyone says this on every show. So just to introduce romance, love, romantic notions between the regulars in this genre show was just, it was cool. It was cool that it wasn't just Crichton and Aaron. It was cool that all the characters got to explore elements of that, of how they express love, disappointment, heartbreak, sexuality. All these things were explored through so many different characters that it made it interesting and a little bit edgy.
I thought I would live much longer.
I never thought I'd live this long.
Someone's dying every single ep. The ship's gonna die, one of the characters is gonna die, and maintaining your belief and maintaining the audience's belief, or at least dramatic tension in the notion of death, is it's a struggle. I mean, that's the struggle for every genre show, because the stakes are so high, as I've said a million times. You want death to be, I don't think anyone believes that Crichton or Aaron's gonna die mid-season, but still you want it to be dramatically interesting enough for at least there to be a lot of tension around the events where they might die.
Aaron?
I'm still here, but I still can't get to you.
May not matter. Dargo's unconscious.
Other dramas, death comes into it, but not for your regular characters every single episode. You know, you get to MASH, Hawkeye or BJ aren't going to die every single episode, even though death's a major theme in MASH, not for the regulars. And for us, it was a major theme for the regulars in every single episode. So it's a real challenge. And it has to be like that, because that's the style of working in that genre and with telling those type of stories. But it was an incredible challenge, and achieved just through emotional truth and intensity and making sure that you were rising to the mark each and every episode. And that's where the shows lived and fell down. I mean, the moments in Farscape that don't work are the moments where the performers haven't been able to match or commit to the emotional intensity that it takes to make the life and death a real stake in that moment. And it's difficult. We fail often, but that's telly, isn't it? We did our best.
Oh! This way!
I don't think I've ever been on a set that allowed that much, power is the wrong word, latitude of contribution. You know, everyone felt like they could contribute and did. And so the story is really different because of the contributors. And I've never been on a set like that. I've been on sets where you change a punctuation mark and it's got to go through this person, up to this person, up to that department, up to that part, up to that department, then it bounces back down. Yes, you can change that one word. What about this word now? It bounces back up and then back down. None of that on Farscape. DK just came, looked me in the eye in season 1, he said, okay, so people are changing things. Said, you can, only if it's better. If you change it and it's better, then that's great and we'll all be a team. If you change it and it's worse, then I'm going to have your ass because they're going to have my ass. But thankfully, 7 times out of 10, it was better and he trusted us and we trusted him. I mean, put yourself in my shoes. I'm just a normal person doing a job and rocking up and putting all this makeup on and putting on a voice and a physicality, and then you see the show put together with these, every department doing such a wonderful job and all the effects coming in and the completed product, and you see this world when we've just been on a set. And then you see this world in front of you. When you watch it, it's incredible.
The female peacekeeper and the other human have just escaped, and there's a full command carrier on approach to this planet.
How much effort goes into making a show like Farscape on a 10-day turnaround? It's just enormous. I mean, the crew are working like mad people, and as the cast, as everyone involved in the show. And to see that really hard effort turn up on the screen in an impressive way it's just brilliant. It's got such a great sense of accomplishment from watching Farscape because I think it's a funky, cool show.
How you doing? My name's Gary Regal. I know you. You are John Crichton. I've heard you're one hell of a flyer. Let's go get a beer.
We don't have time for a beer.
No time for beer.
Beer? Keys.
My friend, one thing you have to learn. There is always time for beer.